G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Protoss vs Zerg. It's going to be on Neo Planet S, one of my favourite maps, although apparently my map statistics won't say so, but when I play Zerg I do really badly on this map. When I play either of the other two races I do really well. I'm not sure if that's just me, if it's you as well, let me know. It could be interesting, something about the map, but we're going to have an interesting game. Two GM players from the North American ladder here. We've got one of our Protoss players up at the top right hand side. It goes by the name of rsvp. He is going to be responding, but he previously was part of Team Complexity and left the team quite a while ago. Of course, you know, Complexity isn't that big on SC2 anymore, but he's a quite a decent Protoss player. I have seen him around and about. I have seen his name at a couple of MLGs. I'm not sure how far he went, but he is certainly a pretty damn good player. His opponent down at the bottom left-hand side is our Blue Zerg player. You may know him from Team Liquid. He's written a couple of really interesting Zerg-based guides. I believe one was for Zerg versus Terran in Heart of the Swarm, and the other, I think, was for Zerg versus Protoss. It is Blade, so we'll see what's going to happen here with Blade being a person who, we'll see if he puts some of what he preaches into practice, just because of those guides that I mentioned. They are available on Liquipedia. If you search for Blade on Liquipedia, you don't get the player page, but you do get you do get his couple of guides that he has written, so those are available over there. You will find RSVP also on the Liquipedia as well, just a little bit of information about him. As I said, not a huge name in the NA scene, but he has certainly been around for a little while now. But anyway, it has been a crazy, exciting, well, not exciting, but a very dramatic morning, I suppose is a better word for it, with Evil Geniuses releasing the Kraken. They have gotten rid of Hydra after some very controversial comments. Like, it's obviously it's something to say controversial comments from Hydra, but this time I think he went a little bit too far. But I was thinking about making a blog post about that. I don't want to rant about that too much in a game and spoil everything as part of this game, but yeah, it was really interesting to wake up and find that Hydra had been released, but we'll see. You know, who knows, maybe he'll still make an appearance in the SC2 scene. I wouldn't doubt that he'd make his way back into something, perhaps after a little bit of you know, a little bit of rest, maybe a little bit of a think about things, but oh well, interesting situation there. Really thoughts go out to, especially In Control. He seemed very broken up about the situation, and understandably so. One of his good friends and long-time teammate, whether it be from SC2 or from StarCraft Brood War even, those two guys have been together and as part of a team for a very long time, so it'll be interesting in the coming days to see what comes out of Hydra, and perhaps further out of In Control and Evil Geniuses as well. But let's talk about this game. As we said, Blade, a player who certainly does know his stuff. He's been writing some of those guides on TL that have been taken by storm initially when they came out. They were everyone loved to read some of those and just give their thoughts on that kind of situation. But he's taken a quick third base here, as you would see as a standard when you're up against the Protoss. He goes for a Forge expansion. It was actually a Nexus first, then a Forge, with the cannon going down and the gateway shortly after. One of the good things about this map is that you actually get to wall off a relatively easy fashion here, compared to some maps like Belshire Vestige, where you've got you know, all sorts of weird little you know, wall-off styles. In this one, just, you know, 2 3x3 buildings, bam, you're done. There's no real need to worry about sort of the layout and the differences in the way that you can expand on Belshire or anything like that. So, very simple map for the Protoss players to do that fast expand on. I do seem to, like, I watch a lot of replays. Like, I don't know, some people don't really know how many replays I go through. I go through so many. I actually sit on some of the replay sites some days just going through any replay that I see. A lot of people like to do the quick expansion as a Protoss on this map. You can see players doing what is effectively a one-gate robo expand up to the third base very quickly, around about sort of the 7 to 8 minute mark. And that is something which, you know, we may have seen RSVP go for, but instead this time he's going to pick up a Stargate. He's got the 4 gases pumping out as much of that Vespene gas as he can. Is going to look towards probably a, we'll see if he grabs a Void Ray or just a couple of Phoenix first up, but he will open up with a Stargate for the moment. There is an Overlord just going down the back from Blade here. Can RSVP see that? He can see that, so Overlord going to come through the backside here. Sometimes you do see players build their big, their sort of key mid-game buildings around this sort of area here, but rsvp has not done that. Sometimes you also see them down here as well. I must apologize, guys. I don't have SC2 Tactician active. I thought I did, but I don't. So we're going to have to draw things the old school way by just using the highlight boxes, but we'll see Blade just make his way through. Is he going to be able to scout out what's going on? Looks like the Stargate is just a little bit out of range here. I don't think that Overlord is going to make it in time, and no, it doesn't. So, first unit out of the Stargate will be a Void Ray. It will be a Phoenix, and then followed up by a Void Rays. So, it looks like rsvp may want to try and get a little bit of damage done. It's not too often you get to see players go for like the very old school Void Ray pressure that we used to see. If anyone remembers back to Wings of Liberty, sort of the much older days when the Stargate opening was a very big thing, introduced by MC. Void Ray, a couple of Void Rays, a couple of Phoenix to lift up Queens, and then you can just cruise around blasting all sorts of Zerg units apart. Speaking of blasting apart, that is 2 Overlords that go down, and rsvp does go up for the 3rd base. He's going to use the protection of the Mothership Core and also the Void Ray here as well. So he's just he's killing off some of the scouting units from Blade, and it looks like Blade will have to build up a couple of Overlords to actually get himself back under the supply cap right now. Does pick up, he's got around about 4. 2 have just popped out, and they are going to help out in getting him unsupply capped for a second here, but he's actually still stuck at 70. So for Blade, it looks like we will have Hydralisk Dane coming out straight away. Knows that that Stargate threat is there. Is still researching the Roach speed upgrade. A little bit interesting to see that. He does have +1 on the missile attacks as well. Has now picked up his 5th and 6th gas down at the 3rd base. So I'm thinking he's just going to transition into a very basic sort of Roach Hydra style for the moment, where he can utilize the possibility of pushing on a 3rd base, and if he can get across, he may be able to get a little bit done here, but I doubt he's going to be able to take this down. There are going to be a couple of Void Rays here, and in fact, wow, we can see that rsvp is throwing down a 2nd Stargate, a Robo facility as well, and he's just, wow, he's even researching +1 on the air weapons. So I think if you guys can cast your mind back a little while, GSL last season, Akelon Waste parting, grabs a quick 3rd base and then just goes hardcore on the air tech. That could be something that rsvp is going to utilize here. So this could be either a very long, drawn-out macro game where both these players are going to take up to their penultimate armies, and we may get to see that very interesting Swarm Host, Turtle, Spinecrawler, Spore, Viper style out of the Zerg plays that they love to do against Skytop. Or perhaps we may see just a big push coming across from rsvp. But Blade, not one to stand on ceremony, going to move across, take his 4th base. Hydra's coming out now. We'll see what damage he can get done with these. They do not have their movement speed just as of yet. The muscular augments is still just starting now. But the +1 missile has kicked in. He's also got the groove spines. The groovy spines have now been added in for those Hydras. So he will have a little bit of extra range there on those guys, but I don't think it's going to be enough. We've got too many cannons here. Nice little gateway wall for rsvp there as well. And the Void Rays continue to be boosted out here by our Protoss player. He's just not stopping. It looks like he's sort of said, screw you gateway units, I want a lot of those high-powered units, the things like the Colossi, like the Void Rays, and these kinds of things that are, as we said, sort of like the ultimate endgame sort of army that a Protoss looks to go for, but normally you don't see them just say, well, screw it, I'm just going to build them straight up, because it does leave you open sometimes to possible attacks. But rsvp, he's countered that. He said, well, I can take a very quick 3rd base, I can cannon it up, we've got a couple of Void Rays for defense against things like Roaches and some very sort of basic attacks. And, you know, that means that once the 3rd base is in operation, he's up to 77 probes right now, mining away quite nicely. He's actually quite free from attack, and, well, you know, as long as his probes don't do that kind of thing, then he should be quite fine here against these early attacks. The one small issue he's going to face for a moment here are these Locusts, and Blade has moved out with around about, well, he's got 7 in total now, so there are quite a few Swarm Hosts here, but they're not going to get too much done. The air army of rsvp, very It's very maneuverable, not necessarily something that can deal with that many Hydras that we're here on the ground, but he can certainly take a big chunk of those units out if he wants to. So, +1 on the shields, +1 on the weapons for these air units here, and rsvp has just continued along with this just the power punch style. I don't really know what to call this, but we've now got the 3 robos in operation. We've got a Stargate at the back, 2 Stargates total, +1 on the ground weapons, also researching, and the first Colossus has come out. So, there is a possibility that rsvp could look towards a push, but I doubt we're going to see that. What we'll probably see from him is just a continual turtle style here, researching all these upgrades. As you can see, charge, extended thermal lance, +1 on weapons, and even a couple of Colossi now making their way out as well. A total of 2. We've also got a Warp Prism in construction right now as well. So rsvp is just happy to sit back on 3 bases. He's going to tech up as much as he can back at home for Blade. Let's have a look at what he's got. The Muscular Augmentations is done. Groove Spine's done. Swarm Hosts have now also got their Enduring Locust upgrade, so these little pesky critters are going to be able to march their way across the map very quickly and do a lot of damage. The upgrades for those units as well, as we can see, the +3 to missile attacks now kicking in. That really helps out in the Locust damage. +1 to Carapace also being researched right now. And, well, I would like to see perhaps the fungal growth upgrade, sorry, not fungal growth, the pathogen glands upgrade come out for Blade here, but we'll see if he's going to add that in, because at the moment he's just looking towards that sort of a turtle endgame style that we mentioned, the Swarm Host to protect on the ground. These guys force back things like the Colossi, like Templar as well, if you have a couple of Templar on the ground, and then you've got Hydras for air defense, you've got Vipers to abduct units and bring them into the fold so you can smash them down with the Hydras and the Locusts very quickly. He's got a couple of buffet buildings out here. The Evo Chamber is going to be chomped on by those by the Vipers so that they've got some energy. And things are going to proceed at a pretty passive pace so far. We haven't really seen either of these players, whether it be the Protoss or the Zerg, push out and get a huge amount of damage done. We did have Blade move across with a couple of his early Swarm Hosts and some of the Hydras, but he sort of didn't really do much at all. The Void Ray count now up to a total of 11 right now for rsvp. He's got a couple of Colossi also here, 4 on the ground, extended them a lance, +1 on their weapons, +1 on their shields, making them survive just a tiny bit longer. But will they be able to deal with all of these Locusts that are going to be here on the ground? Where is the Observer? Does he? Okay, it's at the back here. So he does have an Observer. It's a little bit out of position at the moment. And as we can see, the Hydras, the Vipers coming along. Will there be an abduct? 1, 2, there you go. Yanks them back, pulls back a second Colossus as well. Does it go down? Yes, it does. Another abduct. Finishing off the job there for Blade, and it looks like he's sort of moving into a position here where he looks to assault on this base. Will he be able to get enough done? A couple of feedbacks on those Vipers, splashing them all over the ground. Meanwhile, at the bottom right-hand side of the map, some Zealots are moving into position here. Want to try and attack into this, into the 4th base, but I'm not sure how well this is going to go. Blade has got a lot of spines prepared. He's building up a couple more as well, and they're going to poke away like an emu at a petting zoo right now, poking away at those Zealots. They're going to poke their eyes out, and that will probably be the end of that attack. Locust on the ground, pushing the Templar back so they cannot feed back the Vipers there. The Colossus also forced back. The Void Rays, weirdly moving back just a little bit here. Probably just a little bit scared about getting picked up by the Vipers and then getting sniped down by the Locusts and the Hydras. But it looks as if rsvp has eventually been able to make his way inside this 4th base here. These Spine Crawlers will go down, a couple more in construction as we mentioned. The Hydras now coming down. A few Hydras for defense, but I'm not sure how well that's going to go. Probe transfer probably moving out at the perfectly incorrect time there. Locust going to absolutely annihilate them as they try and move across, actually sort of giving away the fact that there is a base up in the top left-hand side. But Blade has been able to protect his 4th base. He's now got a 5th up towards this the left-hand side as well, spreading some creep towards the top here. I am very, very questionable about whether rsvp is going to be able to keep this alive. If he throws down like a whole bunch more cannons, then perhaps. But it looks like Blade is busy trying to snipe down some of these units. A beautiful abduct across the cliff, picks up a couple of Colossi and some Void Rays there, sniped down by the Hydras and the Locusts. And it looks as if rsvp may be in a little bit of trouble here. It is at his 3rd base, but he does have all of these very powerful units here. Templar on the higher ground, they're looking out, they're trying to see where are those Vipers, where are the Hydras, can we throw down a couple of Storms, who knows, but they're looking to try and get something of that ilk done. And the Zealots continue to harass, pushing across to the 3rd base of Blade. It looks like they will be able to get some damage done, but there is some more damage being done here at the third base of RSVP. Will he be able to hold this back? It looks like the attack is not going to get a huge amount done. The Void Ray is up in the sky, just absolutely annihilating everything there. As we look at the economies, Blade has been able to keep himself in a decent count when it comes to the drones, but now a few of them will be sniped down. Hydras and Roaches coming across to try and save the day. It looks like they will be able to hold that back, and now it looks like RSVP has said, alright, it is go time. We've got the Void Rays out. The Swarm Host had to move out of position here. This is the trouble that Blade had with this style on this map. This is what I was kind of a little bit worried about for Blade on this map. The fact that you have two pathways, if you look on the minimap here, I'm sort of pointing it out with my cursor there, but you sort of have those multiple pathways going, whether it be through the top side or the south side. It sort of does bring up a little bit of an issue when you are using this Swarm Host style, because you just need to be very, very on the ball with your movement and your positioning here. And if Blade isn't in the right position at the right time, he is going to get absolutely slaughtered here. So we can see his drone count has been reduced quite a lot, down to 67, not exactly where he would want it to be, but he has been able to find this new base up to the top left-hand side here. RSVP has got enough to defend this, though. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to bust in there at all. It looks like a few spine crawlers going up at this third base would not go astray for Blade. He may need a couple more at the base across to the side, sitting on a bank of 7k, 2k gas. He can certainly spend some time investing in some drones for defense, for just picking up, as we said, a couple of spines, some spores as well, and then he would really put himself in a nice position there, defending those bases and keeping his economy in shape. But it looks as if he is not willing to do that just at the moment, but there you go, a couple of spines will go down. I would love to see just, like, you know, 6 or 7 more spines here. I don't think 4 is going to cut it when a whole bunch of Zealots, perhaps even some DTs come along. Speaking of upgrades, we've got +3 on the weapons coming along for our RSVP. That is going to add on a huge amount of damage here for the Colossus, but not if they get abducted. But will they get abducted into the right spot? Yes, they do. It looks like the Hydras and the Locusts trying to bust them down as quickly as they can. But 4 Colossi are now out here in this position for RSVP. In fact, it is 5. In fact, it is 6. Holy moly, he's just continuing to add them up. I'm sounding like the Count right now. But he's finally come along with a very powerful force. The Robo units, the Void Rays up in the sky, a couple of Observers to help out, some Templar at the back with some feedbacks as well. And this could be the end of Blade. And I think it's a part of a couple of issues here. We don't see enough Swarm Hosts. We don't see the Hydras coming out. And I seriously have, you know, questionable thoughts about the lack of spine crawlers at some of the bases here. So we'll see if he's going to be able to salvage something out of this. Neuroparasite researching, +3 on the Carapace upgrade coming along, as well as +2 on the melee attacks. But geez, it is going to be a tough ask here for Blade to try and fight back against all of this. He is up against the Protoss at 197 supply. He's got some Void Rays up in the sky with 011. We've got Colossi here with their 012. Not exactly the best of upgrades out of either of these guys, but you know, RSVP has had to invest in these very expensive units, so it's not as if he hasn't been spending his money. As we can see, he's a little bit struggling for gas right now. But the Templar do come along, throwing down a storm. The Colossus at the back, 7 of them in total, and that many extended thermal lances blazing across the battlefield there is just a huge thing for a Zerg to deal with. So it looks as if we have Blade continuing to try and keep his economy in shape here. 64 drones out in total, 65 probes for RSVP. But the big fact of the matter is that there is really just a very sort of mediocre ground force at the moment here. Just the Swarm Host. There's only, you know, 10 of them at the moment. I believe it is 12, sorry. Swarm Hosts are out. Only 2 Vipers, 4 Ultras. It's sort of like a weird sort of mishmash of some of the units here. The Ultras not necessarily the best kind of units to be adding in against a composition that includes all those Void Rays. So Blade perhaps getting drawn into a little bit of a trap there with all of that. And I think we are going to see a laser party here at the 4th base or the 5th base of Blade, and I don't think there is any way he's going to be able to save this. Templar looking to get some feedbacks off. Some Storms are one of their powerful abilities as well, and they do get that off. The Swarm Host Locusts have been absolutely obliterated there, and the Swarm Hosts have moved back into position here near the 3rd base, just sort of somewhere between the natural and the 3rd, and I think this is going to be the end of Blade here. Just not enough damage coming out of him to fend off this huge attack that is coming in from RSVP. Straight up to the power units with the Void Rays, the Colossus, and now Immortals and Templar as well. Just far too much for our Zerg player to deal with his economy not sort of sitting in the shape that he would want to. Not enough static defenses, I would hazard a guess. And it looks like he's going to fall down here, and possibly the last battle. Storm's thrown down. Looks like the Colossi just burning apart all of those units there. And while some Infestors come along and get some good fungal growth off, it is a little bit too late there for Blade. Feedback. Storms all over those Swarm hosts there, and that is going to be it. Too much laser up in the sky. It's like an episode of Star Wars right now. There is just absolutely red, blue lasers all over the place. The observers will spot out those Swarm hosts in the ground. And I would say, with the 5th base now coming up from rsvp, that is the end of Blade in this match on Neo Planet S. Really interesting start from rsvp, just saying, you know, screw it, we don't need gateway units, despite these sellers that are here, we don't really need those gateway units, we're just going to go straight up to the Void Rays and the Colossus, and then add in a few more extra units at the end, and that is going to be it. 4th base down towards the bottom side, now in jeopardy here. There is just not enough of Blade to keep up with. This is economy in tatters, 27 drones, 25, slowly counting down on that drone count here. Not only that, but the hatchery count has now been reduced to just a total of 1. With the 1 hive back in the main base here. So that is the end of Blade. It looks like he's trying to get some more damage done across to the top left-hand side. Probes evacuating. 5 Ultras coming in to try and take care of this base here. But as we said, it's a little bit too little too late. A single DT, the hero of the day, getting splashed by some of the Kaiser Blades just chomping through him. But he will be able to take care of all of these units in the end. But as we said, sort of Blade a little bit too late. So I just think the composition and the way he used the style was just a little bit unfortunate there. Just unable to deal with all of the power forces of the Protoss there. The upgrades, of course, both the players struggled a little bit with their upgrades. rsvp still only on 113 at the moment at the 29-minute mark in this game. But either way, he's been able to get all this final composition out, and he's been able to blast away all of these units. Broodlords have come out, 6 Broodlords, along with the Ultras back in the day of Wings of Liberty. This could have been a very scary sort of force to behold. But with no caster units now on the ground like those Infestors or the Vipers, rsvp is not going to have any trouble with this. Put together those Void Rays up in the sky, activate that prismatic alignment. They're going to be doing, 17 damage per half second. Just ridiculous amounts of damage coming out of those Void Rays right now. And it looks as if, well, rsvp is going to back away just a little bit. Has finally got the +2 on the air upgrades coming along. Void Rays activating that prismatic alignment. Look at them burn up all of those units there. We can see the Protoss just plowing through all of those forces here. Even if these Void Rays go down to the Hydras at the back, doesn't really matter because the Colossus will finish off the job, and they certainly did that. Really, as we said, really interesting style coming out of rsvp here in this game on Neo Planet S. Hope you all enjoyed the match. Please do subscribe to the channel, share with your friends on Facebook and Twitter and all those cool things, and I'll catch you all next time. Blast down those Hydras, bodies being blown apart everywhere there, and Awake is just left with a few Swarm hosts in the ground. We've got 6 over here, not a massive total. And now we can see with the scan going down, I don't think that